As Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee. As he was entering a village, 10 lepers met him. They stood at a distance from him and raised their voices, saying, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." And when he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." As they were going, they were cleansed. And one of them, realizing he had been healed, returned, glorifying God in a loud voice. And he fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. Jesus said in reply, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Then he said to him, "Stand up and go. Your faith has saved you." The Gospel of the Lord. So good to be with you all this morning. It's the last couple of months have probably been some of the busiest of my life, which is various traveling for vocations. And then, thanks be to God, this week was our priest retreat. And so all the priests of the diocese, along with Bishop Martin and Bishop Ned Schlesinger, who is one of the auxiliary bishops from Atlanta, also the former vocation director from Raleigh, he was our retreat director for the week, and we were all together at the Lambeth Inn in Lake Junaluska. And so to get to be up there with all my brother priests, even with Father Rossi, I mean, it was a huge gift to get to be away like that and have that kind of time. Father Rossi still marvels at the fact, he's like, "I've been gone for 7 years. How do you still get to make fun of me?" I said, "You're unforgettable. It's just the way it works." Unfortunately, he's unforgettable. So one of those things where it was great to be with them, and I can't help it when I'm with all my brother priests, because like we all have our quirks, our idiosyncrasies, our styles, our stories. And there's one priest that actually just passed away this last year, and there's a story about him that I'll never really imitate, but I'm going to tell you about it today because I can't help but think about it every time we get this gospel. Because he was the pastor of one of our larger parishes, and apparently he thought people weren't generous enough. So when he preached on this particular gospel, he got up and he said, "You know what? Do you know where the other 9 lepers went? They came here and founded this parish." Yeah, he didn't teach our homiletics course, believe that or not. So I remember that. It was always funny kind of just getting to know him in his older age and like, wow, you really said that, huh? But I will say, in sort of reading through and meditating on all the readings this Sunday, I think in some ways it's like he's kind of putting his finger on a point. Now, that is not a finger pointing at you. It is sort of like, the other 9 pointing back at myself. How easy it is for all of us to sort of move through this life without stopping to recognize essentially, what the point of it all is. We got so many wonderful, beautiful insights this week from Bishop Ned Schlesinger. And it's one of those where his last name's harder to say, so I'm just going to keep calling him Bishop Ned. It was a beautiful retreat in which he just kept getting us back to basics. And I know sometimes you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, that's great. But let's be honest, like Lionel Messi is amazing because he can dribble better than anybody. Michael Jordan knows how to dribble in such a way that it seems effortless, right? The basics are absolutely essential. Like if you don't have those down, you're just going to fall apart. And he kept emphasizing things like his rule of ones. We priests need to be committed to 1 hour a day spent with Jesus, 1 day a week taking some downtime, 1 day a month having just like a spiritual day, and 1 week a year on retreat. He said the law of the 4 ones, like little things like that were so absolutely helpful. But one in particular that relates to this gospel is he said we have to remember that in our prayer life, it is relational, not situational. And what he was meaning by that is, think about your prayer life and how often it gets bolstered up in the difficult times. Like, okay, because the wheels seem to be falling apart or falling off, because things are especially difficult, you know what, Lord? I'm going to pay attention to you now. I'm going to spend some time with you. That we're going through this situation, I'm going to be with you at this moment. And the beautiful thing is we hear from St. Paul, even if we are unfaithful, he remains faithful. Like, even if we walk away, and this is the thing, I know that line sounded harsh, but if we deny him, he will deny us. What does that mean? If we choose to turn our back and walk away, he doesn't treat us like a caveman, right, that like bashes us over the head and drags us back in. It's not the way that he works. He doesn't force himself on us. Rather, he's always there sort of wooing us, striving to bring us in. He always remains faithful to us. And yes, we have situations, times that are more stressful and difficult than others. I would say, quite frankly, I think sometimes the more dangerous time is when everything's going well. When we think like, hey, the bank account's fine, I got the car paid off, it's, mid-October and the weather's beautiful, like, I don't need to pay attention to prayer. In some ways, it's like, think about other relationships, right? It's like, okay, my whole family's in town right now, and I'm grateful for that. And my mom made chili yesterday, and it was wonderful. It was so good to have it. And it's not like, hey, the chili was great, Mom. Now I don't need you anymore. Thanks for being a good cook, and just walking away. Exactly. That would be awful. And my mom would have a right to smack me in the face if that's the way I was. But hopefully I wasn't, Mom. I hope I was better than that. But, we thank God for the good things, and sometimes we get so satisfied in them, we walk away. But in our prayer life, it's relational, not merely situational. Now, he obviously cares about all the different things, all the concerns that we bring to him. And I love this, and this morning I was really trying to reflect on this. The words in the Greek that the 10 lepers yell out, Jesus, Master, have pity on us, they were saying, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison. We call out like that at the beginning of every Mass. We call out to him. Why? Because we need him. Whether we're lepers or not, right? Like, we all have our different stuff. We're all in the human condition, the fallen condition that we live in. We all have that place in our heart that's longing for more. And the good news for us is he's come to give it to us. He's come to give us what? Ultimately, himself. One of the most important lines, I think, in this whole gospel today is one that we can just easily slide right by. The opening line is Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem. He traveled through Samaria and Galilee. What does that mean? Well, from chapter 9 to chapter 19 in the Gospel of Luke, it's called the travel narrative, or as I've heard it put in other places, the death march to Jerusalem. What's he on his way to Jerusalem to do? He's on his way to Jerusalem to have the Last Supper. He's on his way to Jerusalem to enter willingly into his passion. He's on his way to Jerusalem to die for us. And as St. Paul says, what's the gospel that he proclaims? Beloved, remember, Jesus Christ raised from the dead, a descendant of David. Such is my gospel for which I am suffering. He's on his way to die for us and to rise from the dead. And don't get me wrong, these lepers should be calling out. They should be saying, have mercy, have pity on us. We should be doing the same thing. And when things are difficult, when they get hard, I'll tell you, I felt so bad for one of my brother priests this week. He slipped in the shower and literally broke 5 ribs. Can you imagine that? Exactly. That's the same reaction I had. Like, oh my gosh. And he looked like he aged 15 years after that. I felt so bad for him, and he went to the hospital. They said that's a trauma level hit. And he was in the shower. Like, it's crazy how those things happen. But all of a sudden, like, obviously he's calling out to our Lord. And how often are we like, man, am I glad my ribs are okay? I don't think that very often, Like, we can just so easily move through and only think of him when things get difficult. But the good news is, he is in love with us. He's moving forward. He's coming to us. He's giving us once again in this Mass himself, body, blood, soul, and divinity. I think one of the beautiful things in this gospel is to realize that he wants our response. Just like, I know my mom didn't make the chili last night, so I would say, Mom, the chili was great. But I got to say it because it was true, right? And even more so than chili, obviously, he's come not only to heal us physically, as important as that is, and those things happen, and miracles are there. And heck, think, he gave us reason and will. We've come up with all sorts of wonderful things in modern medicine. We can be cured of so much, and it's great as we use our gifts and characteristics. But I think we all know that there's a lot of heart sickness out there right now. There's a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of depression. Why? Because I think we forget that at the heart of it all, we're not merely called to mere physical health. What are we called to? Union with God himself. who wants to be with us, who says from the cross, I thirst. And what is he thirsting for? Not mere water, but our salvation, our love, our relationship with him. And the amazing thing is, as you look at both of the readings, the first reading too, we only get a snippet. I recommend later today, don't just watch football. Pick up the Bible, go to the second book of Kings, chapter 5, and read the whole chapter. All of this about Naaman. We just get the end here. But here's this powerful general from Syria, one of Israel's great rivals, right? Syria is already putting the smack down on Israel all over the place. And the one who tells him, who is a leper, this powerful general, to go to Israel where there's a prophet, is a slave girl that they took from Israel. And yet she has to be prayerful, thankful to be able to recommend that. And he goes. And at first he interacts with the king, who's all offended. But then Elisha sends word and says, stop being offended, send him to me. And of course, Elisha says, he doesn't even go out to him, just says, go, jump into the Jordan River 7 times and you'll be healed. Naaman gets all offended by that. It's like, are not our rivers back in Damascus better than these, the far, and I forget the other one, just far is a funny name. But he's like, aren't our rivers better than these? He's not going to do it. But his servants are like, hold on. If he asked you to do something crazy, something like, going to the top of Mount Everest and picking a flower, you would have done it. All he's telling you to do is go jump in the river 7 times. It's something simple. It's something basic. It's right there. And so he does it. And that's where we pick up today. He's healed. My friends, Jesus gives us access to himself, not in in order to see him, you have to go to the Vatican and you have to wait in line and go through security and get into St. Peter's. No, we have a tabernacle right here. He's here waiting for us all the time. He wants to show us his love always. He wants to keep pouring out his healing upon us. Not just when we break our ribs, not just if we have leprosy, but if you, like me, have the same sickness of heart of just being a fallen human being, of living in this world, of having questions and anxiety and difficulties. And what does he want for us? He wants us to be able to rest on his heart, just like the beloved disciple at the Last Supper. He wants us to know that he is here for us and with us. And so ultimately, what do we have to do? That's one more beautiful thing I got off of the retreat. I've been working my way through a book on prayer by a Dominican named Dom Hubert von Zeller. It's a wonderful name. And basically, if I had to distill that whole book down into one word on how do you pray, the word is fidelity. Just like in all of our relationships, what do we have to do? We have to keep showing up. We have to keep recognizing that even in the day-to-day, even when we're merely standing on the mule load of dirt, where the Lord has been. Here's the good thing. He's created it all. He saw that it was very good. He's in our midst. He uses real things to make himself present. Bread and wine, oil, all of these beautiful things, and he is here and wants to be here with us. My friends, even if we've been unfaithful to him in the past, he remains faithful to us. The great news for us is as we find ourselves like these lepers, right? We can receive various things over time, and we can be like the 9 who went and founded that parish, right? We can all fall into the trap of forgetting all that he's done for us. My friends, the great news for us, he's come to offer us so much more than mere passing salvation in a healthy sort of way, mere cures of mere passing diseases. What does he come to give us? The ultimate salvation of a relationship with him. And that is on offer right now and every day of our lives. And the good news about that is, even though Naaman's skin eventually is not doing him any good because he eventually died, right? These 10 lepers eventually died, but you know what they found? Relationship with God. And that lasts forever. My friends, make sure to keep returning to him. Don't just go through life and walk away after he's done so much, because ultimately, what we are all longing for is Jesus Christ himself. And the good news for us is he's longing for us too. Don't just walk away. Don't just forget all the glorious things he's done for us in the mundane, in the ordinary, in the goodness of the sacraments, of all of these things that he's there. Don't just walk away and forget that, but rather return to him and hear those beautiful words that he says to that one leper today. Stand up and go. Your faith has saved you. Praise be Jesus Christ.